How's it going, everybody? Happy Thursday night. Happy eve of the Boston Red Sox series. So I hope you guys don't mind. I got a little bit of a headache, so I'm going to put on my sunglasses because these lights are bright. Prince Boss says, "What up, Derek? How's it going? How's it going? Sprinting Fire loves the intro." All right, so I'm going to move everybody's comments down a little bit, and we're just going to have a little, just kind of an impromptu little stream here. So what's on everybody's mind? I'll tell you what's on my mind. The Yankees have actually been healthier this year than they have been in recent years. Way more than I expected them to be. Also, number of prospects putting up pretty good numbers this year. Anthony Volpe having a really good year in single A. Oswald Peraza looking really good at shortstop. So a couple of really good young shortstop prospects. Volpe is actually stealing a ton of bases. Luis Medina and Luis Gil both having really good years. Hoy Jun Park having a really good year. John says he can't hear anything, but I'm seeing the volume go through. So I think you might need to turn your volume up. Lori C says, "Hi, Derek. How's it going, Lori C?" Creeper Gaming, what's up? All right. Juan Santiago says, what is, answering what's on his mind, the sweep of Boston. It's going to be tough, man. I'm watching on the MLB TV. Not MLB TV. What's it called? The game day? The Boston and Tampa Bay Rays game. And right now there's no score, top of the fifth, but the Rays don't have any hits yet. So keep your eye on that. Creeper says, I think DJ will probably start to hit again. Yeah, I'm seeing good things out of DJ recently. He's not hitting ground balls as much as he was early in the season. If you remember early in the year, he was hitting all these slow roller ground balls to third base. He seems to have ironed that out. I really think that fixing the baseballs and, or not fixing the baseballs, but getting rid of the sticky stuff on the baseballs is going to allow a lot of these guys to hit. Seriously. Mr. Dog Leon says, hello, welcome.
Hello there.
Bucks Baseball says, first the pitching is good and the hitting sucks. Then the hitting is picking up and the pitching isn't great. They need to both be good at the same time. Isn't that the truth? 100%. That's one of those things I loved about the 1998 team, is that it seemed like they were always on. They had a brief time in September where they struggled a little bit and they ended up having a really bad game against the Tampa Bay Rays down there at St. Pete. And Joe Torre lit into them after the game and they put it together. But for the most part, that season was always, everybody was clicking. You would get 7 innings of 2-run ball most days from the starter, or 6 innings of 3-run ball, like a really solid outing most of the time. And then your offense would put up like 6 or 7 runs every day, like clockwork. Mariano Rivera would come in and shut it down. Best team ever. Yankees need to get better, says Luke is back, baby. Let's hear it. Damian Serrano says, we are going to Boston and punching them in the mouth. Looks like the confidence is back and they are having fun. Yeah, they do seem like they're having more fun. The confidence is back a little bit, but let's not forget the fact that holy mackerel, that made it huge. Let me just close that out. The Yankees have left a ton of people on base over the past few days. They did well today, but that was not a great pitcher. I want to see them execute against good pitching, against a good defense. Jack McKeon, and I'm not sure why this got so big, guys. Let me just try and shrink this here. I have this program that allows you to move it all over the screen, but the only problem is that sometimes you like click a button and it can like screw it up. So I'm going to put that back on. Gary's going to hit at least 2 homers over the monster this series. Gary has been on fire. They know not to pitch to him. I'm thinking that somebody else is going to pick up the slack if the Red Sox are careful with Gary. Because you can't just pitch around everybody. You got a number of guys swinging the bat well right now. Luke Voigt's swinging the bat well. Aaron Judge had 3 hits. He was on base 5 times today. Giancarlo had 3 hits. Rougned Odor had a hot day. So, I mean, who are you going to pitch to? You got to pitch to somebody. I'm liking the way the Yankees are going into this series. Murad Alim says, today's game was a blast to watch. Yeah, that was one of the more fun games of the year. It was stress-free. I'm so tired of these stressful games. Lori C says, Gary is beginning to win me over. Oh, my God.
Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, if you hit a home run a day, it works. Matt Needham says, look at Schwarber's stats now. They are insane. I saw that they moved him to leadoff, and he was hitting leadoff home runs every day. He's a guy who just crushes fastballs, man. He just kills fastballs. And if you're hitting leadoff, you're going to see a fastball. So that was a good move by the manager. Got to say. Let's see. Matt, he keeps posting, look at Schwarber stats. I'm not going to go to the thing. Post Schwarber stats for me, and I'll put them up. Let's see. Ozzy says, the way this team is hitting under pressure will be good for postseason. Every year, that's been our biggest problem. Well, this year, the issue, I think, is going to be getting to the postseason. We're almost halfway through the season, and this team is still on pace for about, 87 wins, maybe 88 wins. I don't know if that's going to be good enough. What the Yankees need to do is rattle off one of those streaks, one of those 11, 12 game win streaks. They've got 2 in a row. You take Boston, that's 5. And we'll go from there. That's what we need, an 11 game win streak. Preferably already having started. Ryan L says, is Gary looming free agent this year? So it's hard to explain. The Yankees could bring him back if they want to. They have team control, but they could also non-tender him. I think he's out of options, so they might have to bring him back on a contract, or they might have to non-tender. But I think he'll be back. Just the way he's playing right now, he seems like he's fixed it. Herman is going to have a stellar start in Boston, says Mateo Morano. I hope so. He hasn't been super impressive lately. He's been a little bit more wild. And since the sticky stuff came off the ball, we've seen a number of Yankees pitchers whose control has gotten worse. Aroldis Chapman, for sure. Garrett Cole's spin rate has dropped, but his control is still pretty good, though he did have 3 walks last time. And then Herman. Herman has struggled with it. Tyone, I thought, looked great today. Looked great. Sprinting Water, one of our mods, says he's going to camp. Excited because things are finally back to normal. Well, they're getting there. They're getting back to normal. My wife and I just went to the mall to go get some candles and stuff for the house. And it was weird just walking around. It was like a ghost town. There was still only a handful of people in the entire mall. And I mean, I guess malls are kind of going out of style anyway, but we go to Bath and Body Works, I think it's called. Because they got the best candles. Like, they got these plug-ins that you stick in the wall, and they're incredible. And we're out there, and there's maybe a handful of people in the whole mall. It's crazy. It's not quite back to normal, but we're getting there. This is a good comment. Pamela Davis says, whoever gets a sack fly should get a bonus. Yeah, that would encourage small ball. I like it. Prince Boss thinks the Yankees are going to sweep Boston and that Sanchez is going to hit 5 of the 10 home runs in the series. That would be impressive, man. I would love it. Jared Williams says, Yankees win off today. So having Luke Voit back in the lineup really extends that lineup, right? A guy who led the league in home runs last year, he's obviously swinging well. He hit the home run and the triple, and then another home run today. I mean, you got to pitch careful to him, which means you got to land on somebody who's around him. And the hitters around him are all real good right now. Gary Sanchez, Aaron Judge is always good if you pitch to him, and Giancarlo Stanton. Sprinting Water says, it's crazy how far things have come from a year ago. You can take your mask off in public and people don't stare at me like I'm crazy. Amen to that, brother. Amen to that. Just an update on the Boston-Tampa Bay game. 2 outs in the top of the 6th. JD Martinez just hit a single, but Rays still do not have a hit. So it might be worth tuning into the Rays game at some point tonight if they don't, put together some hits pretty soon. THG in the chat says, what's going on, guys? This is not the typical live stream. I just kind of wanted to shoot the breeze tonight and hear what's on everybody's mind. I didn't do a live stream today because it was right after the game, or it was during work, and right after the game, there was still like a bunch of time left in the day. So I kind of built a short little recap, and I figured, I should hop on and do a live stream since we got the whole evening. Let's see. Jaffa Majir. I always screw up your name. It's impossible for me. Jafahim Jr. I guess that's how I'm going to say it. Jafahim Jr. says, my dad is working the game as a cop on July 3rd and bought me and my mom tickets. That's awesome. Going to be in right field. I'm really excited about the Field of Dreams game. That was supposed to include the Yankees August 13th. I haven't heard much about it recently. I'm planning on researching it tomorrow, possibly for Yankees game day. By the way, tell me in the chat what topics you want me to cover for Yankees game day tomorrow. I'm going to do a Yankees game day in the morning. Jaffa Eam Jr. Okay, Jaffa Eam Jr. I don't know. THG Wicked 50 Cal says, who's your most underrated Yankees prospect? I'm liking what I'm seeing from Josh Smith. He's a contact guy. He's hitting really well. He's hit everywhere they've put him. Still no score in the Boston-Tampa Bay game. I tell you what, I like guys who make contact. It's the hardest skill in sports, hitting a baseball. And so anybody who can make consistent contact is somebody that I'm going to keep my eye on. So Josh Smith is probably my guy. Steve Montalbano says, hello from Chicago.
Hello.
I always stop in Chicago on my mid-country flights. I almost always have a layover at Midway, which is like the worst landing strip in the country. You have to land so hard, so fast, and it just comes to a skidding stop. I hate that. I hate that airport. Oh, man. Wyatt LaPrade says, I know we need to talk about how the Yankees need a new bat at the deadline, but what about the pitching? Do you see any solutions coming? Well, that's hard to say. I still think the Yankees feel like Corey Kluber and Luis Severino are coming back. I think the Yankees are hoping that their offense is getting hot right now and that they're going to try and address the offense sooner so that they can give those guys some time to come back. But with the way that baseball has changed, with the sticky stuff coming off the ball, guys we're seeing come back down to earth that were really good, I still think the Yankees need some more pitching. One guy I want to talk about, and this guy does not get enough credit, Nestor Cortes Jr. Nestor Cortes Jr. is just an old-fashioned crafty lefty. He's got that funky delivery. He comes from, 3/4 most of the time. He'll pause in his windup. He's almost like David Cone. He's never the same 2 deliveries in a row. He's always trying to fool you. This was something I wanted to talk about on a previous episode, but I got distracted and I didn't finish the thought. The thought was about how everyone gets caught up in sports. This is a professional sport, yada, yada, yada. But what is a sport? A sport is a competition. And inside of baseball, there are smaller and smaller competitions all the way down. There's a competition between the managers of strategy, lineups. Then there's a competition between the batter and the pitcher. And it's not always... The way to win the competition isn't always to throw 100 miles an hour. You can be deceptive. Deceive the hitter, make him uncomfortable. Throw his timing off. And that's what I like about Nestor Cortes Jr. He's just a funky guy. And he's got that mentality where I'm just going one-on-one against the hitter, and I'm trying to beat him in this at-bat. And that's the way I like to think when I would play. And so I can just see that in him. And so Nestor Cortez Jr. is somebody I don't think gets enough credit. T. Wood says, cover something on Luis Medina maybe. So I do want to talk about Medina. Medina's a guy who's got probably the best fastball in the system, including the major leagues. He throws 102 miles an hour, but he's got some mechanical flaws. I did a video on his mechanics this winter. He throws across his body. And when he releases the ball, you'll notice that he reflexively goes backwards. Like, he drives the ball forward, and then his arm will come back. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Yordan Ventura, a little bit of Luis Severino did the same thing for a while, where you throw and you release and then you snap back reflexively because you're using your body as a whip, right? And what happens if you take a whip? Like, I don't have anything I can use, like a phone cord or whatever. Let me see if this works. But let's say, I'm trying to get this in front of the camera. Let's say this phone cord is your arm, right? The faster you move it, the faster the projectile coming out of it, the faster that ball is going to come, right? So anybody who can generate that whip-like action, arm speed, is going to have a really good fastball. But one thing that comes along with that is every action has an equal and opposite reaction, right? So once you get down to this point where you've accelerated past your body, you snap backwards. And if the more your arm speed is, the more that reaction is going to be. I know I kind of butchered that explanation, but the fact is, guys who generate that kind of whip-like action on their arm and throw 100 miles an hour tend to have the same kind of violent reaction backwards. And that can be rough on your body. We're seeing it with Luis Severino. But Medina's only like 21 or 22. Only other issue with Medina is his control has never been great. And so I think they're trying to iron out his mechanics, much in the way that Luis Severino has ironed out his from the time he came up. They're trying to iron out his mechanics, and they're trying to get him to command the baseball a little bit better. You got to be able to command at least 3 pitches as a starter in the major leagues. You got to have the fastball, you got to have a breaking ball, and you have to have either a cutter or a changeup. Let's see. Is somebody saying that okay, Jose Rodriguez wants to trade the Martian to get Soto and Max? I'm going to go ahead and stop you right there. There is absolutely no way that you can trade Jason Dominguez for anybody. Anybody. He's a switch hitter. He's basically going to be a switch hitting Juan Soto. That's kind of what I project him as. I've seen his swing a little bit. One thing I like about Dominguez is he's a normal-sized guy. He's 5'10", I think. He's strong. He's built like Bo Jackson or Mike Trout, but he's got a small strike zone. Baseball is a game that was built for smaller guys. Hitting a baseball that's going 100 miles an hour is hard enough when you don't have to protect a gigantic strike zone. So I like that he's a normal-sized guy. Hitting from both sides of the plate, love it. They say that he's very patient at the plate. Love it. Incredible speed, like top of the game level speed. Love it. We're going to find out soon what this kid is made of because he's going to the minor leagues here in the next few days. BB says, one thing I'd like to see is Gary catch Cole. We need that bat. Will that happen? I think they're going to have to make it happen at some point. If Gary Sanchez is swinging the bat well in the playoffs, you're not going to want to take him out. You're going to want him to be able to catch Garrett Cole. On the other hand, though, Garrett Cole is your ace. You want him to be successful. You want him to have every opportunity to be. So if he asks specifically for Kyle Higashioka, you're not going to say no most of the time. How crazy is it that the Yankees are 8-7 in Garrett Cole starts? Let's see here. Lori C says Jason should have been on a team from the start, not stuck away in spring training somewhere. I agree. They're trying to be extra careful with him just because he is kind of like their number one star. I'm old enough to remember Brian Taylor, who was their number one draft pick in 1991, I believe. And the Yankees didn't really, give this kid the kind of off the field training that he needed, the kind of lifestyle training. How do you spend money when you are a teenager and you make millions of dollars? How do you adjust to life from being poor to instantly being rich? People were going to come at you. People were going to be aggressive towards you. He ended up getting in a fight protecting his brother. Tore his labrum, never pitched in the major leagues. One of only a couple of number one overall picks never to reach the major leagues. Lakota Brewer says, how do you think the Yanks will do against the Red Sox? That's the $1 million question. That's the $1 million question. I think they're in better shape than they were the last time they played the Yankees, or the last time they played the Red Sox at home at Yankee Stadium, because the offense is playing better. You're going to have Garrett Cole in this series. You're going to have Jordan Montgomery in this series. Jordan Montgomery has been clutch this year. I am a big Jordan Montgomery fan and supporter. But I really think that the Yankees are going to play better. I think the Yankees are going to take 2 out of 3 and gain a game in the East. Elliot Johnson says, want to know what's on my mind? The AAA shortstop we got playing center field. He's talking about Hoi-Jun Park. I spoke about him briefly earlier, I believe. It all kind of blends together at this point. What I like about him is that he's a contact hitting lefty. Those tend to do well at Yankee Stadium because if you just get good at hitting the ball in the air, you can also add power to your game. You can teach someone how to hit certain pitches for home runs. If you throw low and in to a lefty at Yankee Stadium, they will most of the time crush it because they're looking there. But as a lefty, they have to shift you towards right field. You also have a big gap out there in left field that you can work with, and you can get some triples if you can wait back and drive the ball the other way. Doubles and triples. That's what we saw Didi Gregorius and Paul O'Neill do a lot. They would turn on that low and in pitch and just cream it, and then they would sit back and let the ball that was outside travel and drive it the other way. Tino was never really a guy who drove the ball the other way. He kind of had like a hooking swing, so if it was on the outer part of the plate, he would hook it. I think Tino would have had a tough time with the shift. A lot of Tino's hits were ground balls through the right side. I think if Tino played in today's game, he'd be a 200 hitter. He'd still have power because he'd hit home runs, but I think his numbers would shrink drastically. But I would love to see Hoi-Jun Park advance as a center fielder. Here's the thing. Until you get to the major leagues, and even sometimes after you get to the major leagues, you don't really have to have a position settled. Gleyber Torres came up in the minor leagues as a shortstop. Excuse me. They taught him to play third a little bit, and they eventually moved him over to second base. He played a whole year at second base. Now he's back at shortstop. We've seen a number of guys come up as shortstops and move somewhere else. Alfonso Soriano came up as a shortstop, and he was the world's worst shortstop. World's worst. Terrible. And they moved him to left field. Elliot says, this is a math podcast, right? Will DeGrom and Cole face each other? I hope not, because I don't think the Yankees would score against DeGrom. I think DeGrom is unhittable. Let's see. Alexander Lee says, are the Rays winning? Right now, the Rays are being no hit. It is the bottom of the 6th. They have 2 outs. Wander Franco is at the plate, and the game is 0-0. So, right now, no score. Actually, I don't like no score. The score is 0-0. But then I also think it should be no scoring, right? I don't know. Prince Boss says, I miss Didi so much. Saw game 2 of the ALDS in 2019. That Grand Slam literally brought he and his dad together again. Wish they got him back on a deal. I was such a big Didi fan. I was, let me tell you a story. The wild card game in 2017. I was in San Francisco, and I had been working at a conference all day. And I went back to my hotel room, and I got some Pizza Hut from the lobby, like a little personal pizza, and a Dr. Pepper. It was like, actually, I had maybe a couple of cans of Dr. Pepper, something like that. And I'm watching the game, and I'm getting pissed off because the Yankees fall down 3-0. And then when Didi hits the ball, I literally started jumping on the bed like a little kid. And I went to open my Dr. Pepper, and it exploded everywhere. And I had to sleep in a puddle of Dr. Pepper. Crazy. But that was a fun game. Joshua Seba says, Rays still being no hit. Yeah, who's pitching for the Red Sox? Nick Pivetta. 5 2/3, 84 pitches, 7 strikeouts. So that might be worth taking a look at. THG says, saw this on Pat's live stream, but if I were the Yankees, I would throw all the money in Luxembourg, Liechtenstein, and Swiss banks to get Max and Seager in the offseason. I think that's one of the reasons the Yankees want to go under the luxury tax this year, if possible, so that they can afford to do that. Because if you do that next year, you got to pay the penalty. Jose Rodriguez says, Glasnow's injury is the end of the Rays 2021 season. You know, I hate to say it, but I think you're right. Them the breaks. Golden Phoenix says Tyone for the belt. Aaron Judge got the belt today. I didn't do a live stream, so I had to award the belt kind of by executive order. And I gave it to Judge because he was on base 5 times, and he hit a home run. He had 3 hits. He had a couple of walks. Alexander Lee says, what do you think of Wander Franco? I think his bat speed is incredible. Although he just struck out swinging. Nick Pivetta with a no-hitter through 6 for the Boston Red Sox. Elliot Johnson also says he's going to the game on July 4th. I'm thinking about going to a game later this summer. I'm looking at maybe like September 18th. It's like a Saturday late in the season. I want to do a vlog. I want to get maybe Patrick and Dan. I want to see if we can meet up with maybe the John Boys of the world and maybe do some kind of a fun little vlog. That would be fun. We'll see. I'm working on that. I'm taking some buddies of mine on a Vegas trip next year. I've been there a lot, so I'm kind of like the tour master. So that's going to be fun. Wives and friends all coming together and going to hit the Sin City, do some gambling. That's going to be fun. All right, guys, I'm going to call it a night. I appreciated this little rap session, I guess. I don't know what you call it. Just kind of a little impromptu headache chat. So we take off against Boston tomorrow. That should be fun. I'm going to try and do a Yankees game day in the morning. Hey, we got a super chat. One more, we got a super chat. First super chat. Lori C says, Pizza Hut is terrible. Buy real pizza.
Excellent.
Also,
yummy.
All right, guys. I will see you when I see you. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It helps other Yankees fans find the channel. If you really enjoyed it, check out the swag section. We've got tons of great designs to support all your favorite Yankees. And if you simply cannot get enough Yankees content, check out the podcast version of this channel, The Frieze by NYY Recaps, available wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Derek. Thanks for watching.